All right, cool. We are streaming live to YouTube. So, what's going on, everybody? We've got another day of How Can I Help? I'm about to have my man Kent He come into the live stream, and let's get Kent inside here. Yo, Kent, what's going on, bro? Yo, Kent, can you hear me? Yo, what's happening, Kent? 1 second. All right, cool. Well, Kent, while you're getting yourself set up over there he is. Look at that handsome side view.
Yo, what's up, baby? How you
What's
doing?
happening, dog?
Oh man, I was having some webcam issues. My bad, dude.
Oh no, all good, bro. Yo, you know what's actually really cool? I was watching your podcast just a little earlier today.
Oh, dude, I
Watching
saw.
you and
Thank you,
LP,
man.
man. That was fire.
I appreciate that, dude. I appreciate the support. There's so much love in this community. I mean, God, it's just so awesome, dude. I'm blessed, dude. I feel so blessed.
Dude, it's hard to not support when you're out there like dropping some real gems and real value. And like I just love it. Like you're just like mentioning like how your daughter is gonna like have to come back and watch that episode. I was just like, bro, like this is what I'm talking about. Like creating this content. I just like dropped a video on Instagram today talking
I
about
saw
like
that. I saw that. I was fired,
yeah,
dude. I was like,
dude,
yo,
I
how
like
how awesome! How what a coincidence.
it was such like good timing. I was just like, oh my gosh, like the universe is in a line. God's doing his thing right now. Like I love it.
Yeah, and I happen to be literally getting ready to talk to you today just to like catch up with you because I know it was so hard for us to catch up, and I know you're so busy, man. So I was just like, oh, let me just throw some time on this guy's calendar and see what's happened, dude.
Dude, 100%, man. Well, you know, it's cool because like I was doing this as like a way of I kind of like once like every now and then like I'll get like the inspiration from like guys like Pace, like yourself, like Keston, where I'm like, yeah, I'm just gonna open up the calendar and connect with people or see how I can help. Some people it's like they come with like a challenge. Other people it's just like straight up we're catching up and we're just like, getting caught up here. So it's like I'm streaming this live to YouTube right now as well. So like I'm all about the cloning of ourselves.
Yeah, dude, that's what life is about, man. I mean, I just want to kind of catch up with you and see what you're working on because I know you're pretty big on mine. So I remember, dude, when I first joined Sub 2, I definitely jumped on a few of your Instagram lives just to see like how you were calling people, and I was like, yeah, I like this guy. I was like, I want to be friends with him someday, and I knew I was going to meet you in person one day. That's for sure.
Yeah, man. No, dude, I appreciate that. Yeah, so I mean, what I've been doing actually, funny enough, like I like sharing this stuff, right? Where, I'm huge on mindset, like you said, right? Mindset Marlin for sure. Right. Mindset's
Yeah.
everything. And at the same time, like recently, like the last 2 weeks, I would say, my business, my real estate business has been like going through like flames, bro. Like in like interesting way where it's like we've got 6 projects going on right now and it's like
Wow.
one thing after the next after the next after the next, and it's been cool because it's been a test. See, like we always talk about like the mindset and we're always about positive thinking, and that stuff is so good. However, when we're going through tough times, it's like, where's the positive mindset at? Where's the gratitude at? Like, are you still like, I got my gratitude journal right here. I'm still writing in the gratitude journal. I'm still thinking on the upside of things. I'm still allowing myself not to use language like, man, I am so irritated or ticked off or things of that nature. It's like, oh, well, that's a little inconvenient. The plumber can't show up. Oh, okay, that's a little inconvenient. So it's been really fun. So I'm currently closing. I call it the Operation Close Loops. So I'm closing the loops on some open cycles right now in terms of projects so that I can bring more and more of my attention back to my coaching, actually my mindset coaching, which is like what I'm head over heels passionate about. It's like it's my jam. It's the thing I never run out of energy talking about. It's I love being of service to others. And that even coincides with just what I'm doing with these how can I help, monthly calls or daily calls.
Yeah, man. I feel like you must have struggled with like how do you give enough time? Because I swear I was struggling with a little bit where I when I first joined Sub 2, right, I was trying to figure out like, hey, how do I add value to the community, right? You're kind of like wavering through the school and you're like, how do I do this? How do I help people? And eventually it took me like a couple of months where I was like, hey, I tried cold calling, I tried doing direct to agents, and I'm just like, something just doesn't feel right, you know what I'm saying? And then I finally realized I got really good at underwriting short-term rentals. So I started helping people do that, right? And I think a lot of people just forget like, hey, sometimes you just got to take some time to figure out how to add value and provide value to people. And now I feel like there's a lot of positive momentum in my life, right? Like I think maybe like 2, 3 months ago, I was probably like really down on myself. Where I was like, all right, guys, I left my job. I'm making some money on Airbnbs, but I haven't gotten a creative deal yet, right? And sometimes those sort of setbacks, not even setbacks, just like, hey, I haven't gotten a deal yet. So what else do I need to do to kind of get there? Like that could be really discouraging to people. Like sometimes people would just be like, hey, it's like maybe this thing isn't for me. But thank God I found this community. And I just feel like people are sending me more deals now. And maybe this like I feel like I'm on a cliff where I was like, all right, all these affordable housing deals are coming in soon, but they're just not here yet. And this is kind of like where I'm looking up to you, where I'm just like, all right, Marlon, I know you put into work, man. You've been here for a while. And now it's really, really, really cool and inspiring to see you talk about Operation Closed Loops. That's so cool, dude.
Yeah, bro. Dude, I love it. Like, because what you just said, man, and like I like highlighting this stuff, Kent, where like you've been consistent, right? And you keep showing up. And that's one of the hardest things I think for people to remember and realize when they look and they see your current, like, like if I go and I see you and I'm brand new and I don't know who you are, I'm just like, man, Kent, he's just crushing it. He's got this podcast, he's got dope look, the dope style, he's got Airbnbs, he knows how to underwrite. Man, of course he can do it. It's so easy for him. Right. But they don't see that you were doing this consistently over and over and over, and days of doubt showed up. But even with the doubt showing up, you stayed committed. Right. And
Yes,
it's the
sir.
same thing. Like I try and share with people as often as I can that my first deal, it took me 8 months to get my
Thank
first,
you.
like to get a paycheck from this business. And it was like an everyday relentless grind. And it wasn't like showing up part-time for this. It was showing up full-time, being unemployed. And like it was scary. It was like terrifying. It was just like,
Oh
am
my
I an
God.
idiot for doing this? So it's just like I want to remind people like keep going. Like please keep going. So that's
Keep
cool, man.
going. Yeah, dude, keep going and get better. I think that's what it really is. Like when I first started underwriting, I was showing people, right? I was teaching people what I was doing. And then I realized like I can explain this better. And then eventually you're going to start realizing like, hey, so this is what I do now. I teach people how to underwrite short-term rentals. And I literally say, hey, if you just take exactly what I show you and just show other people what you can do, now you know how to spot a deal. I'm very confident you can raise private capital. I'm very confident because then they're gonna be like, Joe Schmo knows exactly how to spot a deal because he's shown me his underwriting process before. And like now you just got to find a deal. And I think as you go through it, you get better and better. And you talk about it. It's like I didn't get good at underwriting short-term rentals my first day around. I love showing people like this is what I used to do when I underwrote short-term rentals 2 years ago. And now this is how it's evolved, right? And I think that's something I want to emphasize. Like, I don't know if you're recording this for like a podcast and stuff like that, but you got to keep at it and you're going to get better at it. And then when you leave with value and keep trying to help people first, hopefully it comes back to you. But I think when you give without any expectation of return, people really notice that. People notice if you're trying to give something and you're like, hey, I want this for that. They see through it pretty quick. Um, but yeah, taking
Dude,
action, man. Following your
that,
footsteps.
that's so spot on, man. And I like that. And I'm just gonna highlight one more thing you said there. Because I was talking to a gentleman the other night, a buddy of mine, actually. He's staying over here at the house. He's out. I
Mhm.
think he's in town meeting up with some people. He's here, and him and his wife Josie. It's Matt and Josie. They're here from New Jersey for one more day. And Matt's relatively new into real estate. And he was
Mhm.
like, yeah, I'm not quite sure how to add value yet, because sometimes the people that we see who are the loudest, we assume it's the only thing to do in the industry. Right? Talking to
Yeah.
sellers, it's kind of like being the rock star in the band or the lead singer in the band. And like that person's at the front of the stage. So everybody assumes that's what it means to be a rock star. But it's like, hey, the drummer's a rock star. The bass player in the back's a rock star. The guy rocking out
Mhm.
on the keyboard, like he's the number one keyboard pianist in the world, right? Like the guy that set up the sound system who's up in the rafters, like that dude gets paid $250,000 to go set up these concerts with like bumping sound systems. Like there's so many other roles that
Yeah.
if you lean into the one that speaks to you. And so he's like, well, I kind of like numbers, like, and underwriting is really interesting to me. I'm like, bro, you know how much I hated underwriting? Like, I would have loved to have found you when I was getting started. If someone was just like, I'll underwrite the deals, you just go and communicate to the people. It's like, bro, we would have been a tag team, like Batman and Robin. You could be Batman, I'll be Robin. Like, just tell me where to go and like let me go do flips around. Right. And so it was cool to see that as he started doing that, like I was telling him, like also start recording yourself doing it
Oh
and
yeah.
speak out loud what you're doing, because you're going to catch mistakes. You're also going to learn it better. And then you're even better teaching other people. So you're providing value, like what you're saying, Kent. So that's huge, man. Well,
Yeah. Or they just take the advice that Pace gave us, just start a podcast.
yeah.
Bro, because like right now, right? I don't here's the thing. I have great short-term rentals, they perform really, really well, but then I don't actually have an affordable housing rent, like single family home rental. And you might be thinking like, wow, Kent is all I have is affordable housing podcast. So you might know everything. Like I've got myself educated. I probably know more than 80% of America, but I don't have a affordable housing rental yet. But the reason I did it was not because like I was trying to be a fake person. I was trying to invite people and actually learn from them about how they're successful doing it. And I think that's one way newbies can get into the room with the right people in an area that they want to know more about. Like if you want to do short-term rentals, go start a short-term rental podcast. There's plenty of them. But I just saw an opportunity where there weren't that many people. There was no really dedicated affordable housing investing podcast in the world, which blows my mind, first of all. So I saw there's a huge gap in there. Or there were podcasts, but they weren't being updated consistently. You know what I'm saying? So I was like, I can come in here and I can establish this credibility and become the authority for affordable housing because I know I have a great community behind me. And the intent of this podcast is one, to share the stories of how people have been successful so that, like you saw today, so that we can continue helping more and more people. I think if your goal is genuine behind why you're doing it, then it's so much easier to kind of keep at it. Dude, I don't know. I just feel like I got a lot of positive momentum in my life right now. And it's like, there's still things I can do better. Like looking at your reel, like I'm just going to start recording a weekly video of myself talking about the people that I met, what I learned, so that my daughter can go back and watch these videos so that she can see the accumulation of the people that I met so that she knows that, hey, what does it actually take? It takes more than just yourself. It takes you meeting all the right people and learning from the right people. And I think that's such a valuable lesson that we can pass on to all of our kids.
I love that, man. It's funny. This is almost like turning into a podcast in and of itself. It's so funny, but like, I actually have two questions for you. And hopefully these questions are helpful to the people watching right now, which is the first question is because you mentioned twice that you feel like there's some positive momentum coming in your life right now. Do you feel like you can identify like maybe what's been the catalyst? Like what did you start doing that started to create the positive momentum coming forth?
I think it started with when I started the podcast, I opened up. It's kind of like when you take the first step, then you start seeing that there's different paths along the way. And for me, the first step was starting a podcast. And then I started meeting people who are doing so many different cool things in affordable housing that I never even knew about. Like I had people, Andrea Garcia, she's from Sub 2 as well, but she was doing affordable housing for like thousands of units. Then I met really cool people because like people like Vina Jetty referred me to Al and Hope Johnson. And then I realized what this guy is doing. This guy's using tax-exempt bonds to raise capital to build 20,000 units of workforce housing in basically 5 years. And he has all these next level strategies of using performance bonds to guarantee that a project will get completed. So, one of the biggest risks of new construction is like, hey, what if the contractor walks out? You be in a pretty big hole, right? If you had such a big project, because I grew up in downtown Boston, and I remember during the Great Recession, there was a big hole in the middle of downtown Boston, like in the financial district, because they ran out of money. I'm just like, that's a big risk. But he learned how to mitigate that risk with performance bonds. And then he also raised private capital with tax exempt bonds that gives basically people 10% interest, but then it's actually more than that because it's tax free. So it just blew my mind when I just took that first step. But had I never taken that first step, thanks to advice of Pace and like just this community being willing to kind of come onto the podcast, like I would have never figured this stuff out. It's just like you got to take the first step, and then you would have never, if you never took the first step, this positive momentum would have never come. Because guess what? Once the one person came on, then I started meeting more people. And then now I'm feeling all the people that have brought onto the podcast, I legitimately want to do deals with them. So it's literally just a matter of time until I do a deal with them. And that is so cool because I get to, podcasting is probably the best way to network for anyone that's introverted because guess what? You get to bring somebody on and you get to ask whatever question you want. It's wild and they'll answer it. It's not like you're at the bar where you're literally like, hey, what do you do? Blah, blah, blah. You have a little small talk. They come on and you get to get into the meat of the discussion. And I always ask from an angle of a newbie because, hey, in general, I also want to know myself, but I know that there are people out there who have listened to a podcast where people brag about thousands and thousands of doors that don't actually give you the tactical steps or tell you about what it was to be in the ringer, like down in the trenches, struggling through these things because the goal of the podcast is to demystify it, pull back the curtain so that people actually knows, hey, this is actually what it's going to take, or this is a crap that's going to come up. And this is how this guy handled it when that came up so that you take out the fear. When you see someone had tripped and fell before in front of you, right? You're not going to trip over the same rock. So now that path doesn't seem so scary anymore. And I think that's where the positive momentum comes from. Like I've been able to talk to so many people. They've been able to introduce me to so many people, but they've also shared with me the mistakes. And guess what? If you're looking for partners, this is also how you vet partners. You like two of the guys I brought on my podcast, Jared and Dane Connolly, they've been doing multifamily affordable housing for 5 years. Isn't that someone you want to partner with? You don't want someone that's just starting. You want to work with someone that has demonstrated like, hey, I've gotten punched in the gut before. I've made these mistakes before. That's who I want to partner with because they're still doing it. And that takes a lot of grit to go through that. And sometimes you can't really check for grit unless you've had a deep and meaningful relationship with those people.
Yo, Kent, bro, you just gave a master class on just like how to be persistent and how to gain positive momentum in your life. Because, dude, like so many people are so nervous about getting started. And you just right there, you just demystified even just getting started with like these podcasts and like how to go out and just start having these conversations. Like you really just help people understand this is what we're supposed to do. So you've been having the conversations, which is interesting. You're reminding me of a buddy of mine, Antoine Martel, who's out of California, and he invests like crazy in the Midwest, does a lot of homes that he will create turnkey rentals. And the way he got started for about 18 months in the very beginning, he was doing what you're saying. He was going out and he was interviewing every investor he could possibly get his hands on that was doing what he wanted to be doing. He was taking them out to lunch. He was inviting them onto a podcast. He was doing any and everything to just soak up that knowledge. And without realizing it, he was soaking up so much information that he was ready to avoid a lot of mistakes, as well as it was energizing him. It was feeding into his own life force so that he was able to run out and do it. So that's really cool. So let me ask this, right? Like as you're on this journey, what's, I guess, like a challenge or an obstacle that you're facing currently? Like what obstacles are coming up right now? Like, and what walls are there that you're looking at? Like, hey, this is going to be a fun wall to climb over.
Literally self-doubt every single day. Self-doubt every single day. Because I told you, right? I haven't gotten a creative deal. And sometimes that voice gets really loud. Man, it gets really loud. Like, hey, you still haven't gotten a deal yet. You're not good enough. You haven't done enough. And here I am, like, I'm trying to spend like, 12, 16 hours a day. Like I play with the kids and then I got to do that. It's like, wow, that's a lot of work. And sometimes you go into the spiral when you're like, hey, I'm not getting in a positive momentum. How do I get cash? Like for you, sometimes people don't have 8 months to get the first deal, man. Like, I think that's a real problem. That's a real challenge. And people should expect to go through that. And I think had I known, like, when I left my job, I knew that I had enough runway to get by no matter what. Because I still have some money from the Airbnb. I was like, I'm not going to be rich, but I know this is the path. This is the long game, and I have to stay with it no matter what. Because I can't tell my daughter I quit because it was too hard. I'd imagine that, and I was like, I can't say that. I can't tell her she can be anything she wants to be, and she's gonna look at me and it's like, well, why don't you do it? So that's how I thought about it, and that's why I'm being persistent. And thank God I have such a great and supportive wife that she's okay with it, and she sees the long game, and she knows that we're doing this for our child so that she can have a better world to grow up in. So the challenge is that self-doubt, and I think everybody just needs to be louder than that self-doubt voice, because if you let it paralyze you, chances are you're going to quit and you're going to go back. And the only reason I've been able to go is like every single time I've had these self doubts, I have another amazing conversation with someone like LT today, where it's like, yeah, thank you for reminding me this is why I'm doing what I'm doing. It's like I just need to have these conversations. And that's why one of the consistent questions I ask most of my real estate investors that come on that does affordable housing, I always ask, tell me a story about someone you helped. Tell me a story about someone you helped. Because this is way more than money. I'm willing to get 2, 3, 5% less cash on cash return on my percentage if I know that there's a story to be told about someone that I've helped. And I think that's really where the value comes from. And this is how we're going to keep going.
Bro, I love that. And you know what's interesting? You know, you just kind of tapped into it, which explains to me why you're so persistent, right? Because you've known that when you figure out what you want, you also need to figure out why you want it, right? And most people, they figure out the whys. And are you familiar with Robert G. Allen?
Wait, is he the author? Which book did you write?
No, Zero Money
Wait, hold on.
Down, Multiple Streams of Income, the 4 Maps of Happy Successful People.
I have not read his books yet, but I've heard of him. Yes.
So Robert G. Allen, OG in the real estate game. And he wrote this book. He was one of the people that kind of recognized to how to buy properties, creative financing, zero money out of pocket. Like he was just like, anybody can do this. I can teach it to anybody. In fact, there was a challenge where he took 5 people off the unemployment line. He was given 90 days to go and get these 5 people to be able to buy a property with absolutely no money. And 4 out of the 5 people purchased properties inside of the 90 days. Actually, the 5th person was going to purchase the property as well, but a fire happened. So they purchased the property. It just happened it closed outside of the 90, right? So essentially all 5 people were successful. And so he went on to teach thousands of people in his lifetime. And what he discovered, he wasn't getting a 100% success rate, right? All of his students weren't being successful. And it started to bother him, like, man, like I'm giving them the tools, I'm giving them the tactics. What's going on here? And he realized he was neglecting the mindset. He realized that until the mindset started to shift, like that self-doubt would come and kill off the ability to perform. It would kill off the ability to stay persistent long enough. So he's now dedicating the remaining years of his life. He's in his his 70s now. He's just dedicating the rest of his life to really rewiring people's mindsets. And so along with that, he speaks about your why. And with that being the case, that there being 3 formulas to your why, or 3 categories of your why, right? 3 different levels. And this might be cool for you to know, because you're tapping into, I heard you say like you're tapping into already one of the most powerful versions of it, whether you realize it or not. The first one is your need why, right? So your need why, this is Kent's hungry, Kent's starving, you got to go get a meal. So you do whatever it takes to go get a meal today, right? You're bankrupt, you got to go make money. You go and you do whatever it takes to go make $1 today. Need whys are extremely powerful because your needs have to get met. However, the challenge with need whys is after your need is met, the motivation is gone. And this is where we see most people have a need why, and it's being met currently. Their W-2 satisfies their needs, right? The relationships, the friends that they have, all that satisfies their needs, the necessity. So the danger of need whys, once it gets met, it disappears. And then we lose all motivation to keep going. So then we dig in deeper to a more powerful why, which is the me why. The me why is that why of, this is, I want to travel to New Zealand and I just want to go hike the mountains. I want to go skydiving, right? I want to have $1 million. I want to buy a new Ducati, right? All of these things that get you excited personally, and that they're big goals you can chase after. And what's cool about these me whys is they're long lasting engines. If the need why is this short burst, this me why is a very long stretch. The challenge with the me why, though, is it doesn't always have enough power to create that momentum to get the actual body in motion. So it's not strong enough to take someone from a total standstill and get them in motion again. And this is why people will have things that they prefer, but they don't necessarily make it a must, right? Like, hey, we would all prefer to be richer, healthier, and wealthier, but not everyone's taking action on it. So then we have to dive into one deeper level, which is the we why. And the we why is what gets you out of bed every morning. Like, that's like your daughter. That's the, there could be a flu in the house and your daughter could be sick and you're sick and everyone in the house is sick. But the moment you hear her coughing, guess where you are? You're standing up, you're by her side, you're getting her whatever she needs, you're carrying her, doing whatever it takes until she finally gets back to sleep and she can get some rest. And then where are you? 2 seconds later, you're in the bathroom puking your brains out and you just collapse on the ground. But where did you find the strength to take care of her? It's that we why. It's that inner motivation. And the fun thing here is like, people think because we found it, it makes it feel like good in the moment. It's like, no, this is where the energy is found to commit one more day, because our commitments, they only last. So this was a cool thing. He recognized our commitments only last 24 hours.
Oh, wow. That's really interesting.
Yeah.
I never knew that.
Our commitments last 24 hours. So each day it's our responsibility, because the human, we're forgetting machines, man. We forget like crazy. So each day it's our goal to remind ourselves of the dream, of the bigger picture, and to recommit, to sell ourselves again, to make that promise, to take care of the we why, to tap into that energy backpack. And so this is really cool, because this is something that I personally, like, I do every day. Right? Like, I have to recommit to my why, because if I don't, I have to recommit to the purpose, because if I don't, I will quit. I will stop. I won't want to go, because every day there's a moment where I'm like, I don't want to do this. Every single day. And then I get myself sold on the dream of, well, what do I want? Oh, I do want that. Oh man, like, and all those kids I used to work with, they're still looking up to me and they're expecting me to do something. Oh, you know what? I want to prove to them that it's possible. I want to prove to them. I want to give them that hope. I want to let them know, like, hey, we don't need to, we can make up the rules of this game and we can serve people and we can create an amazing life doing that.
Man, that's so cool, man. That's like that's way more important than generational wealth. You know, we talk about generational wealth a lot, and I'm just like, it's generational health. Like I've been telling people all the time, like you're not been able to. They say generational wealth lasts 3 generations, right? I think you might have heard that one before. So for me, it's like I don't care about the money, and I'm pretty sure my daughter isn't going to care about the money because I'm going to teach her how to make that money. However, how do I help so many people that it's inevitable that they help our kids and our grandkids and our great grandkids anymore? It's like these scenarios that we think about. It's like, well, what if my great grandkid is having a problem one day and I want to help them but I can't, either because I'm sick or I'm dead. But how crappy would you feel to know that you couldn't do anything? What if you could do something? Like, what if you could help so many people in the world that you know somehow, some way, it's going to get paid back forward? LT was talking about the social worker that she was going to the government agency to get welfare. What if that person didn't have that job because they chose not to do it because they didn't pay them enough because they couldn't cover their core? It's just basically a bad move. That's all it is. So we can break that train and be the investors that invest in a specific mission and provides homes for those people that are such giving people. Like who's helping the people that are helping people? I don't really know, to be honest with you. Sometimes I don't know, but I know we're at time. So do you need to run and get off?
Oh no, dude, I'm good. I got like another 10 minutes to go, bro.
Oh, dude, let's keep going then. Dude, this is fun, dude. I love these conversations because they're therapeutic. You don't get to have these type of conversations that often where you're like, wow, let's just keep going, dude. No, this is fun, man. Like I'm just feel like I'm having fun and I know I'm on the right path. And it helps talking to people like yourself, Marlon, where I need to know that there are other people. They're like, hey, it's not normal to wait 8 months, but it's also possible to wait 8 months and then get your first deal. And it's just so cool seeing like your journey kind of come full circle and inspire other people. And I was watching this podcast the other day with Forbes Riley and Ryan Pineda on his podcast. And Forbes Riley, I watched some of her YouTube videos afterwards. She said, you know what I want? She said, I want people to tell me I'm inspirational and that I'm amazing. And I'm like, huh, interesting. Anyone that tells people this, you might sound selfish, right? You might sound selfish doing that. But when I think about it, it's like, huh, I do want people to tell me that I'm amazing and inspiration because I really just want them to tell my daughter when I'm gone. Because that's how I want my daughter to remember me, right? So I think when people are really real with themselves, where they're not hiding behind some like political correctness, It's like, yeah, what do you really want? I want people to tell me I'm amazing. I want people to tell me I'm inspirational. Who doesn't want to be told that? But are you being told that because you're actually doing it right? And that's what I really resonated with. And that's why I was like, hey, this is why I want to do this. I want to help so many people that they can, at my funeral, they're going to go to my daughter and be like, thank you for your dad providing a home for my kids, because look at what a great person my kids became because they had a stable home. Wow, that is powerful, dude. And that gives me shivers every single day when I think about it, dude.
Kent, you know what's really cool about that is you're tapping on something. It's I coach, right? I have clients that like I do high performance coaching with. And when we're working on figuring out their purpose, some people like they struggle when you like
Yeah,
because it seems
yeah,
like such like a big daunting thing. Like, what is your purpose, guy? What is your purpose, kid? Like,
yeah.
tell me what you're gonna do with your existence. Like, whoa, back off, like chill. Like I'm just trying to make it through the day, right? But knowing your purpose gives you a direction, it gives you a heading, and it taps you into that power. So when people are struggling with it, there's two experiments I like to do with them, or two exercises, right? And the first exercise, many people may have heard of it. It's called the rocking chair experiment. And the rocking chair experiment works a little something like this. In fact, I was actually teaching this to the sub two group this morning during the daily dial. We had like about 100 people on the Zoom call, and this is what we were talking about when I don't even know how old I was. It was a couple of years back, and I was still working 3 jobs, living in New York, making a whopping $20,000 a year. Like, oh my gosh, I'm breaking the bank. And it was just like, I'm never gonna forget it. It's Friday night. I'm in the Elks Lodge. It's a catering hall. And I'm just fed up, man. Like I've thrown the mop down on the ground. I'm in there by myself, 1 o'clock in the morning. And I've just had it. Like I'm looking around and I'm having that moment of realization for the very first time. Like, I hate what I'm doing. Like I hate everything about the situation that I'm in. Like how many times have I cleaned this stupid building and I come back tomorrow and it's dirty again, and I clean it and dirty, and I clean that stupid kitchen and it's dirty again, and I was like, I'm stuck in Groundhog's Day. And so without even realizing it, standing in that bar by myself, standing in that restaurant by myself, I close my eyes and I start to imagine myself as a 90-year-old man, and I'm just rocking back and forth on the rocking chair. And I'm thinking and reflecting on the life I lived. So from 90 years old, right, in that imagined future, I'm looking backwards on my life now. And I'm seeing what I did. I finished up college. I got my doctorates in physical therapy. I got that job. I was making anywhere from $80,000 to $110,000 a year. I had the house in the suburbs that had the little picket fence, and I had the kid, the son and the daughter, and that stupid little dog that just yaps a little bit too much. And the marriage was like, it was okay, it wasn't bad, but it wasn't passionate. And like I just saw this life, and I gotta be honest, bro, I was absolutely disgusted. Like I was like, and not that it's a bad life, seriously. Like I don't want anyone out there to think that like I'm calling someone out. Like if that's your life, if that's what you want, then that's an amazing life. That wasn't what I wanted. It wasn't. I wanted to go travel the world. I wanted to go have an adventure. I wanted to go meet cool people, go get lost. And like, just that's what I grew up with. Like, that's what's in my mind. That's what constitutes as a life for me, as like a fulfilled life. And I just realized, wow, the path I'm on, that will never happen. And so I got this deep sense of clarity. I got this deep sense of like, I'm meant to do so much more. And I didn't know what it was. I just knew in that moment that it wasn't this. And sometimes like that clarity, that purpose, it comes in stages, it comes in waves, and you just get shown the first step.
Yes,
And that first step in
yes.
that situation was just telling me that what I'm doing right now is wrong. It's wrong for me. And so in that moment, I quit my job right then and there, like in that moment. Like
Oh, that's
no
cool, man. I
hesitation.
love that. Respect. Let's go.
Appreciate that, bro. And so it's like it's an experiment that I do with people now where it's like I ask them to go into the future at 90, and I ask them to look backwards to and like reflect. And when they're getting ready to make a decision and they're getting ready to figure out what direction they want to go with their life, it's to ask yourself, do you regret having made that decision and living out the rest of your life? Do you regret getting into affordable housing and providing that sort of future for people and going through the ups and downs that came along with it? And most time people never regret taking the action. It's they regret not taking the action. They regret not
So
doing it.
true.
So it helps
So
them to
true.
clarify that. And it's kind of like a sneaky way of time traveling. It's like whenever like I wish
Yeah.
I could go back in time. Well, you can.
Hey, I'm curious. Like, before you get to your second exercise, how often do you find people being honest when they do that, right? And here's what I mean by that. Do you feel like they're saying what they think they're supposed to say? Meaning like they're saying like, oh, I want world peace or something like that. I don't know. Do you get anything like that? Like I'm trying to see how honest people are because sometimes like you gotta be honest with yourself, like where you are, what do you really want? Why do you really want? And not do it and say things because you think the world wants to hear it. I think that's something that's really challenging. And like I don't know. I just want to hear like what other people struggle with there.
Yeah, no, Ken. So you're spot on, and this is actually one of my favorite things because so as a coach, like I've gotten good about like knowing myself. I'm very reflective and I'm self-reflective, and I know one of my superpowers. I'm really good at this. Is I'm really good at creating an environment of trust in a very short period of time with just
Love it.
about anybody. So
Love it.
instantly, when people come around me, rapport is built almost automatically. It's an energy that I resonate. It's what's happening at a vibrational level. They don't even understand why they trust me. They just do. And another thing is I have decently high EQ. So I'm good about reading other people's energy. I'm good about reading other people's vibes, and I can pick up when they're lying. I also spent a long time doing exactly what you just described, giving logical answers that I knew would fit and would get the other person to back off. Right. I spent my entire life giving those sort of answers. So I can spot those sort of answers a mile away. I can
Love
feel when
it.
someone's being disingenuous. And
Love it.
so this forces us to have what I call like, we don't have fluff conversations. Like I tell people, like if they start trying to have a fluff conversation with me, my brain will shut off on you. Like it literally will just start to stop listening and my attention will start to drift off onto something else. And once I see my attention is drifting in a conversation, the conversation's over.
Dude, I love that you're setting an upfront contract there too.
It's the
That's
truth.
awesome. It's smart and it works.
It works really well. Like, and I've actually had people like before I work with a client and before I coach anybody, I have them go through an interview process. Right. And so a lot of times people think this is like some sort of like sales tactic. And in a sense, it actually is, right? Because to me, sales is service. But during that process, what I'm actually doing is they're interviewing me. I'm allowing them to interview me and I'm interviewing them because I want to see, are they going to try and lie to me? Do our energies resonate? Are we compatible? I've come across people who want to work with me because they're aware of like my reputation and I can feel it. I'm like, hey, our energies aren't compatible. We aren't a good fit. I want to help you. You want to be helped by me. But right now you're resisting what I'm trying to give. I'm not the person that's the right key to your lock. Somebody else might be though. And so like it always like blows people away when I'm just like, no, because I just know this. I know this from having
Hmm.
communicated with enough people. I've been fortunate, so fortunate to have met so many interesting people who have just opened up to me and given me their genuine self for me to recognize who I can and can't vibe with. So that's huge. And so to your point, when people come and they give just those purely
Hmm.
logical answers of, hey, like, I want world peace, or, I want to make $10 million. Oh, awesome. Great. Right. I never disagree with a person. I just ask them, cool, like, why? Like, paint that picture to me. What does that actually look like? Like, how do I know when you've gotten there? Like, what does it actually look like? And if they can't begin to paint the picture, what it tells me is they're regurgitating words and information that they heard. But if it
Hmm.
means something to them, what happens is their imagination begins to conjure up a picture. They begin to see the reality. And then I have them start to really paint the picture back to me. And if they're struggling for details, it shows me that there's a disconnect. Right. But when there's something that people actually want, the details start to come to them. It's almost like they're channeling. And I want to remind people that they have that ability because it's innate in all of us. We just didn't get an opportunity oftentimes to express it. And so that got shut down. Some people had great parents or great schooling or great mentors in their life that allowed them to express these thoughts as they came, which is amazing. But most other people were told, like, hey, chill out, stop that. I need you to learn this and spit this back to me. Like, what did I just tell you? Great. Now tell me, now what did I just tell you? So that part of their mind hadn't been used in a long time. And the imagination, oh man, it's a gift. It truly is a gift.
Dude, that's awesome, dude. And you're changing lives, man. This is so cool. This is so fun. It's been an amazing conversation, bro. Like this is not a conversation I would have been able to have with you in a conference room with like 30 people. You know what I'm saying? Like it's
Bro,
just not possible.
bro, you ask some really fun questions. Like I feel like I'm on your podcast right now, bro. Like this is just like so much fun. And you know what's interesting? Like this is a conversation that like I think, you know, if you and I like were standing face to face and we're in a conference room, we would be having this conversation because one, I love these conversations.
Yeah, I love
You're
this
like
shit.
you're so good at like bringing these sort of questions up and bringing these sort of answers out of me. And also like people need to hear this. Like this is why when like we start talking about things like this, circles always start to form because people they resonate with the truth and they
Hmm.
don't get
Hmm.
enough of it and they're starving for the truth. And I've recognized this when I go and look on social media and I start to see the Lewis Howells and the Ed Miletts of the world and the Pace Morbys, and I'm seeing so many people are beginning to follow and listen to their message. It's because people are starved for truth. They're starved for authenticity.
Yeah, dude. People just need to hear about the struggle. Like that's just it's just like that's just a natural part of it. Um, and I can't wait to see like what the next year brings, to be honest with you. It's gonna be so cool. I'm hoping we work on a deal together eventually at some point. Maybe we'll do an affordable housing deal, maybe we'll do an Airbnb. Doesn't matter. But I can't wait, man. Like we should definitely get more time together, dude. So we'll talk some real estate. We'll talk shop a little bit on that front afterwards. And hopefully I can help you guys like, you know, with short-term rentals and stuff like that, because that's where my bread and butter is right now. But I eventually want to become the affordable housing guy off the
Dude,
route, and just I think that's gonna happen. It's
I,
inevitable. It's gonna happen.
I love that, man. Like I love like what you want to do with the affordable housing. And it's funny, I was talking with a realtor up in my market up in Milwaukee,
Hmm.
and you know, she and her husband do a lot of affordable housing. Like that's their passion with what they're
Yes.
doing. And you know, we were discussing as her as a realtor, her brokerage, they try their best to once a month put on like workshops and seminars to help teach financial literacy to the individuals who they also help get into the affordable housing programs.
So
And
important.
I'm just
Yes.
like, you know, like that is so up like my alley of what I want to do. That's why the podcast exists. That's why like these conversations, like this is a conversation, Kent, that you and I would have just like on a phone call. Like I'd
Let's
be
go.
walking around in the backyard and me and you would just be talking about this. However, I recognize like when we share it out publicly and we let other people join in on the conversation,
Hmm.
it's only better for everybody. You know, everybody grows from
Absolutely.
it. So
Absolutely.
I would love to, you know, find a way for us to work together to do some projects together. I love your energy. I love the vibe. I love the mission. And like it's just for me, it's fun. It's about doing fun things, cool things with cool people and trying our best, like our darndest to be of service, like to really,
Yeah.
you know, and that can be a struggle sometimes when you're trying to just take care of yourself and figure things out for yourself.
Hmm.
But when we recognize how this whole game works of you get what you give, it really makes you want to give more. And that feeling you get from giving, I mean, you know, you can't buy that feeling for anything.
Just gotta hammer home right now for anybody listening. Look what just happened. Like I started a podcast. I got in touch with Marlon. I was like, I just want to get to know this guy. And this guy heard me and said, hey, I might know someone that is doing affordable housing in another state. Boom. That's how it starts. And while I was talking to you, Marlon, someone sent me a deal literally on my top right screen saying, like, hey, I got an affordable housing deal. Like this stuff is real. This is how it happens. And sometimes it's like, I wish I could share my screen like just then and there at that exact moment. Like, dude, look at what's happening. Marlon got a referral for affordable housing. Someone else that does it that wants to tell the story, and I got a deal to send to the top right corner. You can't make this stuff up. It takes a long time before it might happen, but you can't make this stuff up. And I hope like people just get inspired from our conversation together. Like, go out there, take action, be consistent with it, know that you're going to struggle and assume you're going to struggle and assume you're not going to get any deals anytime soon, because like when that deal comes you're going to be like, oh, what am I really supposed to do in this situation? It's like I'm sure like when you go through the struggle for 8 months before your first deal, you were probably like, wow, what am I going to do when I get 6 deals that are kind of in the pipeline right now that I'm working on, like that, like dude, what? So this is so cool, man. I can't thank you enough for your time, Marlon. Dude, I so appreciate you putting yourself out there, making a calendar available. Time something we never get back. So I thought this is very time well spent. I'm never gonna regret this one.
Bro, I appreciate you for making time for me, man, for being here, for having like such a fun conversation, hanging out with me, doing some like weird stuff. Like this is what I live for. So it's like these conversations I live for. Kent, I want to know for like people that are watching this either live right now or in like as a pre-recording, how could they get in contact with you? Like if someone has like an affordable housing opportunity, or if they want to learn about Airbnb and like how to underwrite Airbnbs, which y'all, you should hit up Kent for underwriting Airbnbs and hit him up for affordable housing. What's the best way for them to reach out to you? I know you got your YouTube channel right there, which is youtube.com/@Kent_he. How else?
You can and you can DM me anytime on Instagram at invest with Kent He. That's my mission and my passion. I'm trying to raise capital for affordable housing so that no kid feels less than by living in an affordable housing home, so that no parent feel like they're providing anything less than what their kids deserve just because they had a rough patch. So I need some help from the audience that might want to look at different opportunities together. And of course, I want to give back to the community. Every 1 to 2 weeks, I do an underwriting short-term rental Zoom in the Facebook page for the Sub2 community, just so I can show you guys exactly what my process is from end to end, so that you guys can take that process and be better than 80-90% of the world underwriting short-term rentals, so that you guys can go raise capital. I hope you guys make tons and tons of cash and invest back in affordable housing someday. Not even with me, just do it on your own. Doesn't even matter. We need so much more of it. So, Ron, I appreciate the time, bro. This has been awesome. Thank you for letting me introduce myself to your audience. Really appreciate it, bro.
Bro, I appreciate you. Let's connect offline. I think I was looking for your phone number in my phone book. I don't think I have your phone number. So if you have mine, I don't know if we exchanged numbers. If we did, please shoot me a text message right now. And
I got you.
Let's go. I was about to say, I thought we exchanged numbers when we were last time you were down
at the mastermind. I think I met you in the mastermind. That's probably what it was.
And I was like looking for my phone to text you earlier, and I was like, I don't see it. I was like, maybe I didn't get his number.
Damn, we'll do it again.
I finally got your number, bro. Yes.
Let's go. We'll do it again. And then next time we jump on, we'll do like a one-on-one underwriting Zoom or stuff like that. And like this way you can use that and provide value to other people too going forward. Because what I realized is it's very hard to scale helping people unless you teach other people to help other people. And that's really just what I want to do, man. It's like I don't need to keep the skill all to myself. I can share it with the world. And hope everybody makes a lot of money.
I love that, man. You just inspired me. You just inspired some cool thoughts in my mind, which I'm excited to bring back to like our community, bro.
Let's go, dude. All right. Hey, you have an amazing day, bro. It was so nice catching up with you.
Yo, Kent, take care, man.
Talk to you later. Bye.
Later, brother. So, y'all, that was Kent. He connect with him. And hopefully you enjoyed your time here today. I see Elena over here. I see Daryl. What's up? I see Jerron. Guys, thank you so much for hanging out. My day just got way brighter because I had a cool person in it. Now I'm going to jump in, get back to work, and y'all